let's consider data collection and then summarizing that data. So you have some kind of form you fill out, either someone collecting the data fills it out or you ask people to fill out a particular survey form. And sometimes they have choices like gender, male, female, perhaps other. Hair color. Sometimes you have open-ended questions where people can pretty much enter whenever they want. You don't give them choices. That can be very dangerous because then people type things that you don't expect. So for example, somebody indicated their hair color was grizzled. I had to look up that that meant dark with some gray in it. Somebody wrote dark brown with a capital D. Somebody wrote dark brown lowercase. We have brown uppercase B and brown lowercase b. And all of these are going to be treated different when we go to analyze the data. So the data's got to be scrubbed if you didn't carefully set up the survey in the first place. And even if you carefully set it up in the first place, this stuff happens. Sometimes you don't want to make every single form field required because then people are kind of annoyed. Well, I don't want to answer that question. And so they're just not going to fill out your survey because you're trying to force them to answer everything. So other times you're going to end up with blank spots in the data. And sometimes you get numbers you didn't expect. And so I might find that people entered average TV hours per day, and they might have entered like 30 hours. But you can't watch 30 hours in a day. There are ways to design surveys so that you restrict how people can answer it, and that's usually a good idea. But generally, you still get some stuff you didn't expect, and you have to deal with it. So here I'm just going to consider the two categorical variables, gender and eye color. And there's a command on the spreadsheet to look at a list of information, a range, and determine if there's any unique information there. So for example, I used the unique command on column A to say, hey, what's unique in that column? And the computer said the word gender, male, and female are the three unique words in that column, otherwise they're just repeated. I did the same thing for eye color. I used the unique command on column B, and it found in that column was the phrase eye color and then blue, hazel, green, brown, brown, blue. Now notice this brown and that brown look the same, but if I double click in that cell, I can see that's brown, and this is brown with a space after it, and the space is a character you type on a keyboard, and the computer records that. So then I have to figure out how to collapse this data because there are repeats. Capital brown, there's also a lowercase brown down here. And so I can see there's lots of different ways people entered their eye color because I allowed them to type whatever they wanted. And some people misspelled things like gray should be Gray. All right, so then I had to manipulate that. So then I went through and tried to clean up the data without damaging the data. And those were just simple things like convert all of the browns to just lowercase BRO and W, for example. And some people entered blue-green, but somebody else entered green-blue. What's the difference? Maybe they believe there's a difference. This maybe is more blue with some green. This is more green with some blue in the eye. So again, you have to make these decisions. Never alter the original data. So back here, I still have further back the original data set unedited. I make a copy of that just to be safe, and then I play with just certain parts at a time. Next, once we've scrubbed the data necessarily, then we have to try to summarize it. Here I'm going to do a two-way table where I compare gender options to eye color options. So I have two variables here. One variable is called gender. It has two different values. The other variable is called eye color, and here I ended up with 13 different values for that variable. So a particular variable can have multiple values. This two-way table shows only two variables. One variable represents the columns, the other variable represents the rows. Gender, 2 rows, eye color, 13 columns. Now, I don't want to manually count because I could make a mistake, so I have the computer count for me. Hopefully you watched the previous video where I summarized a single categorical variable and I used the COUNTIF command. If you have multiple criteria for counting, like I only want to count males with black eyes, or I only want to count females with blue eyes, then we use the COUNTIF command. And S is like plural, count ifs. There's a whole bunch of ifs, and you can have a whole ton of them. I just had 2. So what I told the computer here is to count if things in column A had what's in G3. What's in G3? The word female. So the computer is going to look through column A and find any row that has the word female in it. And I told it to look in column B for anything that looks like what's in I1, and that's the word blue. So it's going to look in column A for the word female, and it's going to look in column B for the word blue, lowercase b-l-u-e. And again, it will distinguish capital blue from lowercase blue. Those aren't the same word computer-wise. And when I told it to do that, it said there were 39 rows that had a female with blue eyes. And then I just repeated that column selection with either male or female, and then the color eyes I was looking for in each of these cells here. So each of these has a count if S in it. So the act of collecting data is complicated. The act of verifying the data, that's a lot of work too. Then there's the act of summarizing the data. That's a lot of work also. Now, I'm doing this here in a spreadsheet just to kind of get a handle for how all this summary happens. It happens in stages. If you ever do this professionally, you're going to have a computer program that's going to summarize this for you. And so in our class here, you're not required to use the count if S command, but you are required to be able to look at a table like this and tell me what the heck this means to us, how this two-way table helps me understand the distribution of eye color among males and females in the respondents to this survey. Hope this was helpful. Have a great day. Do good math. See you in the near future.